you like the rain coming here?
Yeah.
Feeling like home, to be honest. It's not cold. That's the main thing.
What can you tell us about the upcoming season? Just tell us everything. It's fine.
Yeah, all the spoilers.
Yeah.
Well, the upcoming season kind of gets a lot like grittier and darker, and as the structure of the political structure of the island starts to kind of fall apart because alliances are no longer firm, and pirates are constantly having to change alliances. Everyone becomes a lot more selfish and Machiavellian in their approach to survival. And yeah, I think it's for me the season has got a lot more hand to mouth. Like everyone is having to really, honestly, their hands basically to survive. So
yeah, I think there's a sense where Nassau is threatened by Britain, and it's vulnerable. Eventually they're going to come. They're going to sort out this problem of piracy in that region. It's affecting trade, and so it's about the future of Nassau and how to solve the future of Nassau, how to make it a place that is still a viable place where all these pirates can live. And I think Flint's thing is I need to create a place where they can give up piracy and make this a going concern, but without having Britain take it over again.
yeah.
And so it's really about the survival about Nassau, and also it explains there's a backstory to Flint. So you go back in time 15 years to when he was a young naval officer, and you get the origin of his what's driving him, because I feel at the end of season 1, which is great, you don't know what he's about really. He's very enigmatic, and it explains a lot of the reasons why he's doing what he's doing.
Now, obviously, you're in a historical setting and you're playing these characters, and they're fictional, but they're pulled from the historical record. How much research did you do for your roles, as looking into the back history of just the history and how people lived back then?
To be honest with you, I didn't do a huge amount of research. I kind of rely on. I read one book on piracy. It was more about West Indies piracy. It was about sugar trade and how it was affected by piracy, and it went into a lot of stuff about just the day-to-day kind of living on these ships, where a lot of the crews came from. The fact that most of them were kind of people who had been press ganged onto either naval ships or onto trading ships and been treated appallingly, and eventually when they got their freedom on the pirate ship, they imposed this democratic rule, all these codes that they lived by, and that it wasn't the sort of chaotic existence that kind of comes across in the more fantasy side of piracy. They weren't as ragtag as they were quite organised. And that was, so I looked at that, but really, at the end of the day, I got to play what's in the script, and they make the world for me. I inhabit the character, and it's good to know background, but it's not. I don't think it's too useful to get bogged down in that.
Yeah. I think for me, it was a tough thing to do anyway, because trying to research women in piracy is actually really hard. There's not a huge amount written about it, so you really do have to take the context of the world that's presented to you, try and understand that world, and try and understand how a woman in her position would fit into it, and the things that she would have had to do in order to survive. So, for me, I found it really interesting. I tried to find women that I could kind of find a similarity with, but most of the accounts would have been women who were in London, who were running caverns, who were running the same kind of racket, who were running the same kind of selling illicit goods. And you think, well, actually, the island itself is kind of has to keep running when the pirates are off kind of looking for their prizes, and so it's kind of like a war situation. So women kept everything going, kept the business running, and so in that way I can kind of fit her into that, but she is completely what you would not expect of a woman of the day. So for me that's exciting and fun to bring an aspect of history that must have existed to the forefront.
So what attracted both of you to these roles and to the show?
I think what attracted me was I think Flint is a really I think he's a great character, and he seemed to be. There seem to be all of these things that are driving him that we don't quite understand, and I found him very intriguing. I find his storyline very intriguing. And I think that's very satisfying about season 2 is that unpeeling of the onion, trying to find out actually what he is, and it goes in a direction that you're really not expecting, and he keeps on getting making an audience question him, and I like that. And it was just unlike any pirate thing that I ever read. It seemed to me more like a western than a pirate show. It was much more like a gritty western, where these guys are frontiersmen and they're at the edge of the known world, really, kind of existing, and it's kind of desperate. Everything's desperate. It's not easy. I'd always sort of seen pirate stuff as just guys going around burying treasure or digging up treasure. It seemed to be like, but that's how they existed. I mean, whereas this is much more about a pragmatic, what drove piracy, why did it happen, and how did it actually work? What's the mechanism, the economic mechanism by which it actually survived? Which is really kind of her end of the thing of being the fence. She had to have a fence. I found that really interesting.
Yeah, I think for me it was that as well, that it was kind of the politics behind it, that it was kind of a political drama, and it takes in a very large geographical. I mean, this is the beginning of kind of globalization. Like we're really talking about the first free trade in the world, and people who are trying to sabotage these trade routes. So for me, it was really exciting in that respect, but also like just on a character level, she's really kick-ass. And I like playing a rebel is something that is, every female actress is dying to do. So not playing someone who is subservient to anyone else, and really is creating her own path and making sure that everybody follows her on it. So that's, for me, that was the most exciting thing.
Awesome. Thank you.